So having that vision of what change you're trying to create is going to be what's going to keep you through some of those tough times.
Welcome to the So, You Want to Be a Data Scientist podcast, where we interview awesome data scientists and other data professionals. This show is part of the website soyouwannabeadatascientist.com. Visit the website to get access to articles and other resources on becoming a data scientist, like my free data science Kickstarter course. And if you like the episode, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. But for now, enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of So You Want to Be a Data Scientist podcast. Today, I have Sadie St. Lawrence with me. She is the founder and executive director of Women in Data, and we're going to hear all about it from her. Welcome, Sadie.
Thanks, Marissa. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. So let's jump right into the questions. Can you tell us about Women in Data? What is this organization? What does it do?
Yeah, so Women in Data, our mission is to increase diversity in data careers. And we do this through three areas of providing awareness, we provide education, and then we provide advancement to people in their data career. And this really came about because in 2014, I was getting my master's degree in analytics and data science, and there weren't any women in my classes. So we looked around and said, where are all the women? Like, this is going to be the hottest new industry. Like, there needs to be women in this industry representing it. And so, I didn't know what I was doing, but I got the calling to start Women in Data. And now, 5 years later, we are in 11 different countries. We have 39 chapters and a little over 13,000 members. So it's really exciting to see the growth that's happening, but most importantly to me, the peoples whose lives are being able to get helped by joining this career and industry.
Wow, that's very impressive. And this is an international organization, right? It's not just in the US.
Correct, it is. So we originally started in the US just to make sure we really knew what we were doing and could scale sustainably. And then this last year is where we saw, the majority of our growth by opening up internationally. And now, as I mentioned, are in 11 different countries. So it's exciting to now be able to connect with people all over the world and share resources and knowledge as we best do in Women in Data.
Wow, that's really cool. And how did you, I mean, you mentioned why you started, but how did you start it? Did you just started talking to the other women in your class? Did you talk to your friends? How did this whole thing evolve?
Yeah, so I didn't know anyone else in the field. And honestly, that was one of the main reasons why I started it. What I did was I started a meetup page for women and titled Women in Data in my city. And the first event I had zero resources, zero money. And so I just said, hey, if anyone's interested, let's meet at this restaurant to, network and get to know each other. And I took a book with me to the restaurant because I was just so afraid that like no one would come. And I had a little sign, and I thought that I would just look like a fool, sitting there by myself reading my book kind of thing. And it was about 5 minutes after people were supposed to show up, and a few people had RSVP'd, but no one came. And I was just like devastated because I was like, this was a dumb idea. I'm going to be like the only one in this industry. Not even other people want to connect. And I called my boyfriend almost in tears, and he was like, why don't you just wait 15 more minutes and see what happens? And that 15 minutes seemed like something achievable. I was like, okay, I don't have to wait 30 minutes, 60 minutes, just 15. I can sit here for 15 minutes. And so I did. And in that time, three people actually ended showing up. They had got stuck in traffic and were like, we're so sorry. And it was with those three people that came to the first networking event that then Women in Data was born, and is, what it is today.
Wow, that's really great. It's also very courageous for you to just try to reach out to people out of the blue, especially if you didn't know anyone personally. So, that's really cool that it came to where it is today.
Yeah, I would tell people that, sometimes you get your calling before you have all of your resources and your path. And I think a lot of people get the message and then they don't do anything about it. And there's so much more that you can do about it. Especially in data science, there's so many like beautiful projects of data for good. Like if you're inspired to do it, you may not know who to connect with yet or, where your first step is, but like just putting out that intention, right? Maybe making a post on Instagram or wherever your social media platform is, like the resources will eventually come to you. So I always encourage people like you're blessed if you got the message, and if you got the message, the rest of the things will come to you.
Yeah, that's so true. I also feel like a lot of people are very open to connecting with you and communicating with you or just meeting with you to talk about their experiences. You just need to kind of give a signal that you're open to it, kind of give
Hmm.
like a, put out some text, maybe just write some, say, I don't know, I want to meet new people in a data science community, or maybe write some articles. And like since I started writing articles about data science in the last year, I've started receiving so many messages from people who are like, hey, what are you up to, what are you working on, want to meet, want to grab coffee, for example, for people living also in the same place as me. So it really shows you how open people are actually, they're just waiting for you to take the first step, and then everyone kind of starts coming to you.
I 100% agree. I think I'm an overall just like an optimistic person, but I really genuinely believe that like people want to help. And I think what we're missing is, leaders in our world to, have a vision and show a path because other people are willing to come in and support your vision and mission and help. And I'll just do a quick book plug, but I just finished reading Tribes by Seth Goodwin, and it's a great, only 120 pages, so very light read, but just really about how to lead and lead possibly a small tribe because people are willing to come in and help. So I'm happy to hear that you've seen that in your work and your writings as
Mhm.
well.
Definitely. Well, it's nice that you also found your tribe now. Nice. So
Sometimes to find your tribe, you have to build it. So
yeah, yeah. So I want to talk more about the organization, but I also want to learn more about you. So before, or maybe while you were founding Women in AI, you were also working as a data scientist, I think, right? Or a consultant. So how did you end up at the data science position? What was your journey towards today?
yeah, so it wasn't until last month that I actually switched over to running women in data full time. And so for 5 years, I've been working in the data science industry and running women in data. And I how I got into data science, I call it a really winding path. Just actually yesterday I had this like revelation of like what was actually my first data science project. And I realized that I was in a way doing data science back in high school because I used to love music theory. So I would analyze scores of music. And essentially if you're familiar with music and theory, you have to find like the patterns in the notes and consolidate them to make sense of them and the chords that they make up. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the same process you go through as a data scientist where you analyze data and look for patterns and try and provide the insight and meaning behind something complex. Um, so how I got into data science wasn't, straight from music theory into data science. I actually was a piano performance major in college. Then I switched over to neuroscience and psychology. And at that time, when I was working in a neuroscience lab, I had to euthanize a rat. And the rat just like looked me in the eyes, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, there has to be a better way to do science and look at data that doesn't do harm. And so I think from a lucky Google search, I found the data science industry in 2014. And I came home and I, told my boyfriend at the time, I'm switching to data science. And he was like, what is this? I have no idea. And I soon, instead of applying anymore to master's programs for neuroscience, I switched to apply to data science master's program. But I actually ended up going and getting a job at the same time as I was in my master's program. I felt that it was from what I was reading, and today I still feel it's very important to have hands-on experience. So education is great. You should always be supplementing yourself with education, but nothing compares to hands-on experience. And so my first job was actually a research analyst, and then I was a analytics engineer, and then I became an analytics consultant, and then I was a data scientist, and then I was a data science lead, and then I switched over and became an AI strategy consultant. So I worked a lot of different jobs in the data space, and I think that's the one thing I try and tell aspiring data scientists. You don't always just have to get the job that has the data science title. It's really about, for me, three factors of, the people you work with, the work you're doing, and then, hopefully your pay as well. That should factor into your decision of, your next job that you want to take.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's yeah, especially because you mentioned that you took a job on top of your master's degree just to get some hands-on experience. There are a lot of questions online that I come across, people asking if they should start a master's degree in data science, and it's a very tricky question. I mean, it depends on the person, but at the same time, as you said, I feel like hands-on experience is so valuable. Said instead, if you could get an internship, like if you had to make that decision, I feel like sometimes even an internship might be better for you than doing a master's degree. I mean, of course, if you don't know anything about data science, master's degree might be better, but like you did, doing it at the same time actually sounds like a really good option.
Yeah, I feel the very same way about that question. I am always like, before I answer it for people, I'm like, let me ask five other questions, right? Because it is so custom. Like, do you have any experience in the industry already? Do you have any education in it? And
Hmm.
what I will say though, from being on an employer side, and then now today with my work in women in data, helping people get hired into data science, I think overall work experience still will trump education, right? I think you need a
Hmm.
bachelor's degree to kind of get in the door. But other than that, I mean, the days of PhDs and almost even master's degrees are not relevant anymore. And so I would always lean on the side of experience and mentorship, because your network is going to be the number one thing that's going to get you hired. And to have a strong network, people need to know you through your work experience.
Yeah, that's true. So, just to recap, you done a bachelor's degree on a totally different field, psychology and neuroscience, you said, right?
Yes.
And you started a master's degree on data science.
Hmm.
And did you get any other qualifications? I mean, I don't think you really needed them since you already had a job doing being an analyst, research analyst. But did you complement it with any other, for example, online courses, etc., boot camps and stuff like that? Oh, excuse me for interrupting you, past Mistra, but I have something important to share with your listeners. If you want to upgrade your career and become a data scientist, you need some experience. Period. Employers don't really care about how many online courses you've taken or how many hours of Python tutorials you watched. They just want to be able to trust you to conduct a project independently. And do you have that skill already? Well, if not, head over to my course, Hands on Data Science, complete your first portfolio project, and you'll be on your way to impress future employers in no time. You can find the link in the show notes.
Yeah, so I actually started classes on Coursera first before I applied to a master's program, and mainly I did this just to see if I even really liked it. Master's programs are expensive, so I didn't want to just invest all this money into a master's program and then have, find out at the end of it that I didn't enjoy it. So I started on Coursera. I did a couple of like the data. It was the first ever from John Hopkins like data science certification, and I did a few of those classes, and then I switched over to my master's degree in there.
Nice. So you mentioned that you were actually doing some sort of data science in your high school years, which I think is like a super unique perspective. I've never heard of that before. Thinking of music theory also as data science, I think it's very cool. But other than that, so you mentioned that also you found the name of data science on like a lucky Google search. But what inspired you to take that as a career, or what was the thing that convinced you that that could actually be your life?
Yeah, so at the time I was a little bit frustrated with academia, to be honest. And the way it was, data science was framed was, you know, they called it kind of like the rebels of academia, like leaving academia to go work for, corporate America to use their skills in all this area. Because at that time, it really was PhD people going into the field. And so I think there was a portion of that was inspiring to me. But the other portion was being able to study people and understand people in their natural environment. So one of the issues I had with psychology was um, surveys. I don't think that surveys are a great way to understand, outcomes of people. We already know that people lie a lot on surveys. And then even testing environments, people know they're going in for a test. And so data science was so appealing to me because it's like I get to look at people's behavior online or through a digital medium, right? Where in a way they don't know they're being watched. And so, the flip side of that is, well, that's really scary. And is that ethical and all these other things that go along with it, right? But from my science brain at the time, I was like, this is so rich, like so rich in the insights that we can gain and the studies that we could do. Like, I need to know more about how to get into this world, and I need to have this tool because um, it's going to be super valuable to me in the future, whatever I do, to know these skill sets.
Nice. That's a good reason, I think. So, but now you are running the organization Women in Data that you founded. But do you have plans for the coming years of your career? Do you want to keep running Women in Data, or do you want to get a job again, or maybe start a company of your own? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, so I think that based on my history and who I am, I will probably switch my career every 5 years. And not, it doesn't have to be within that bucket, right? But I've just
Mm-hmm.
looked at my past patterns. I analyze myself a lot, right? And I enjoy things and I enjoy getting to a point of mastery. And then it's time for me to become a beginner again. But one of the things I will say about running Women in Data right now is I'm coming into Women in Data still with a very data science mindset. And from this experience, I really believe that data scientists and really strong data leaders are going to be the CEOs of the future. And the reason for that is because we're no longer managing companies in the way we used to. We're managing them in a digital space, and that's only going to accelerate. And no one knows how to manage a digital space better, in my opinion, than a data scientist. And so I'm really enjoying right now taking my data science skill sets and those tools, you never lose it, right? And using them in a different fashion. And right now, for me, that's measuring outcomes, finding where are the pitfalls, in terms of the mission we're trying to deliver and how we better achieve it. I'm doing it with a data driven mindset because that's all I know. There's no transformation that needs to happen. And so, what I would encourage, like, people who are aspiring to be data scientists is to, become a data scientist, learn those tools, but don't stop there. Like, take that tool set to your next adventure or your next career, because that's where real impact's going to happen when you start to combine multiple facets of different industries together and use those tools in impactful ways.
I feel like that's also kind of in line, what you just said is also in line with the fact that a lot of people are talking about that in the future, data science is more going to be about specific industries or domains. It's more going to be about the data driven mindset or the skills that you bring in, but also specialize in a certain industry. It doesn't have to be true for everyone, of course, but I feel like that's also kind of where the data science community is tending towards.
Definitely. And one of the things I would say is just how much data science has already become automated. I mean, data science is going to become automated. And what I mean by that is the level of skill you need to do data science right now is so much in a way less than it was 5 years ago. I mean, 5 years ago, the main tool was R, and then we moved more into Python, and even that's easier. And now a lot of even the Python algorithms that are in there are now being, used in a GUI interface. And so that's one of my main reasons to encourage people, don't get comfortable in data science. Like data science is awesome, but it's a tool, right? It's not your life. And I think that's really important to remember because data science is getting automated. So look at it more as like, hey, this is a mindset and a tool. How do I continue to evolve myself and apply these things to other areas? Because it's not going to stay around the way it is today for the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I was actually thinking about something similar a couple of days ago. When you think about like the job of a data analyst, it's kind of more, people always ask, like, what is the difference between a data analyst and a data scientist? When you think about it, a data analyst then only kind of cares about the data. They get the data and they kind of take it as is and they try to get some insights from it. But a data scientist's job is a little bit different, as in the data in that sense is just a tool. There is another goal that you're trying to reach, and you're just using different sources of data to reach that goal, and your knowledge on how to deal with the data and machine learning algorithms and everything. But it's the goal itself is not to work with the data. The goal itself is to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Yes, I would agree. I think, it's always been kind of a question of what is the difference between an analyst and a data scientist. And I think there's a lot of crossover. Um, in my opinion, a data scientist, one should be testing things. It should be experimenting. I mean, if you look at the pure word of it, of scientist, right? Scientists experiment. And I don't think enough data scientists today experiment. I don't think they fail at things. I don't think they test things. And then the third, or sorry, the second part of that is like a data scientist, in my opinion, should be building in a way like not just new insights, but in a way new revenue generating products. And what your product is an algorithm. So you're not just building insights, you're building, products where maybe it's a recommendation system, right? Maybe it's a computer vision system that can see images faster and classify them for an app that the company has, right? So you need to be experimenting, you need to be building these products. And then I think like the third thing of it is like, you need to make sure you're so tied in with the business and what the business is doing. And I think where it differs then from an analyst is an analyst may just be looking more for those insights and providing the reports, whereas a data scientist is testing and experiments and building those products.
So I want to learn more about women in data. So you mentioned, and this also is on the website, says you women in data's aim is to increase diversity in data. And you also mentioned a couple of things briefly of what you do to increase this diversity. But can you give us some specific examples of what Women in Data does to achieve this goal?
Yeah, so essentially we have, like I said, three pillars: awareness, education, and advancement. And underneath those pillars, we have different programs. So in awareness, that is our way to just make people aware of what the industry is about, help them find a community. And so each of our chapters have local networking events. That's a great way for people to connect with their community. We also have a YouTube channel and do a lot of webinars with industry leaders and share that. And so those are the two functions under the awareness side. In the education side, currently we're building a career tracks platform so people can come into our platform. They can take a survey to see what career options are for them in data science. We call it data careers because, again, as I mentioned, it's not just about data science. There's so many jobs in data careers to expand, your horizons. And then we provide people resources to educational referrals to help them get on that career track. And in the education space, we also have what's called our residency program. So essentially, this program solves the problem of not having the job experience. So we've seen a lot of people go and got the master's degree, but then they didn't have the job experience and they're not getting hired, or they've taken classes and they're still having trouble getting hired. So we work with cities and companies and have a data science lead teach them. It's an 8-week program where you work through a full data science problem from beginning to end. You get some resume review and some coaching as well. So that's in our education space. And then in our advancement, this is for people who are in the career already. And we want to help support them in their career and help them grow and advance to become a leader in their industry. And so for that, we have life coaching services available, we have mentorship. And then for some of our chapter leads in that space, we have leadership training as well.
And how can our listeners sign up for these events or programs?
Yeah, so we have two membership options. Just a community member, which you can sign up for, and then you have access to like our online content essentially. So you have access to all of our events, and then we have a closed Slack community group that shares resources. And then if you want access to some of the more in-depth programs, we have our WIN membership that you can sign up for. And that's where you'll get access to the residency program, the mentorship, the life coaching, etc.
And are there any public events that you're holding anytime soon that our listeners can look forward to, or some webinars?
Yeah, so we haven't, we're kind of in the, when this is being recorded, the in between of the 2020 and 2021. So we will be announcing our 2021 webinar schedule here soon, and that will essentially be a monthly global webinar series. We try and have them at different times, so that should be coming out here soon. But in the meantime, what I would encourage people to do is just head over to our YouTube channel. The link is on our website, and there's a ton of webinars on there as well that you can check out and view on demand.
Yeah, that's very cool that you also have a YouTube channel and share the webinars there. And are these the webinars where people can join and ask questions about their data career or data science or data specific questions? How does it work?
Yeah, so if anyone has specific questions, I would really encourage them to join the community, which is when you'll get access to our Slack group. We really love to just solicit information from all the people in our community, and that's a great way to post a question, and then people respond and can help you out, and give their feedback and their experience. So it's really awesome just to see the community helping out each other and just with the same vision and purpose of helping, diversify and advance and grow the data career space.
And I want to come back to you with this question. How has it been being a woman in this area since women are really grossly underrepresented, as you said also? Have you encountered any bias while you're doing your professional work?
Yeah, so it's really, I would say, company to company, and then even within a company, team to team. So I've worked on some really awesome teams where, there was about 40% female representation, and the culture was just really positive. And, during that time, I was kind of like, why do I even need women in data, right? And then I switched jobs, and I was at a place where, it claimed diversity, but it wasn't diverse. And they really, you could see that it was a boys' club, and um, you know, people who should be getting more representation did not. And so, I think it really just depends on the team. I think there's still, a lot of progress to be made. And, if you're in a place where you aren't facing any discrimination and you feel like the culture is good, that's amazing. Like, help that spread, help it grow. And if you are in a place where you are facing, discrimination or even unconscious bias, like, my recommendation is, reach out to a community to find support, and then find a new job. Like, I think that we forget how much power we have as individuals. Like, we are all at will employees, right? And if it's not a good fit, like, don't stay there, because like it's not, it's oftentimes when you're in a lower position, like, it's hard to change it. And so my recommendation is find a place where it fits, because those also are going to be the companies that succeed in the future anyways.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very easy to forget that we have options. Even though we're working in a field where there are a lot of like very high demand and there are a lot of jobs, and especially if you have work experience, people will probably be happy to have you. It's very easy to forget though that you can just change jobs. You just feel like you're stuck at where you are.
Exactly. And I think it's also a problem too when, if you are facing discrimination, your self-esteem is a little bit lower, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so knowing like, oh man, I am worth something, and like I can change jobs and I do have options, like that's why I think you need a community to remind you like who you are and your value. And I think that's where, having people to remind you at that time can help you get out of bad situations, which is fantastic.
That's so true. And you already gave our listeners some really good advice, but just to wrap it up, is there any one advice that you always give to someone who's willing to get into an AI or data career?
Yeah, I always tell people to find their why. Especially now, data science and AI has become so popular, and it's a wonderful industry. I recommend, anyone to get into it, but you really need to find a why for what you're doing. And so I think that's where it comes into, what impact do you want to have? Like find maybe an industry, like is it healthcare and you really want to, save lives through data science and healthcare? Like find what your North Star is, deeper beyond just I want to become a data scientist, because it's going to be hard. Like you're always going to be getting pushed. You always are going to have to learn new things. So having that vision of what change you're trying to create and having the why for what motivates you to get out of bed in the morning is going to be what's going to keep you through some of those tough times.
Yeah, that's so true. I actually wrote an article about this couple of months ago. I don't remember the name, but I sometimes hang out on Quora to see what people are curious about, and some of the most common questions are, how much does a data scientist make? Should I be a data scientist or investment banker? I'm like, that really should not be a question, because yeah, as you said, there should really be a reason that you want to become a data scientist, not just because you Google best money making careers in the world right now and then choose one randomly, right? So it's kind of hard to see people choosing careers like that, but yeah, there's only so much you can do.
No, I agree. And here's the thing. I think having a job that pays you well is a wonderful thing. I mean, especially to me, in my opinion, for women, like when women become financially independent, like shifts start to change because money is energy and they control more of where that energy and money flows, right? So it's not a bad thing to want to make money, but you may need to go something deeper into that, into why is it, I want to make money for X, Y reason, right? And so even if it is to get a high paying job, yeah, but what's your reason behind that, right? And so that's where even your why can be like, I need to, get a higher paying job and become financially independent. But finding the reason why for that, I think is still going to help you sustain.
Well, Sadie, that was actually all of my questions. Thanks a lot for taking the time to come on the show and answer my questions and sharing all your knowledge that you gained throughout your career, and also running Women in Data and telling us more about women in data. So thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to take my free data science Kickstarter course to learn what it takes to become a data scientist. See you next time.